Hello, everybody. We're here to continue our accounting of PB's travel experiences and his experiences with his teachers.
Today, we are going to share with you the time when the PB go to India.
But we know that before he went to India, three of his teachers, Brother M, A.E., and Anandamateya, had all prophesied that PB had a dharma to go to India. And in our earlier talks, we know that in addition to these three teachers, PB had many mystical experiences prior to India. So when he wrote A Search in Secret India, he didn't refer to that. To make it more interesting, he made it seem that these were his first encounters with teachers and with inner enlightenments. But actually,
But he already had so
he
many,
already had
these. The truth is, since he mentioned in some places that in his boyhood he already had mystical experiences. He had psychic experiences. He understood about the astral dimensions since he was so young, and that helps him to continue because in the early age he already knew has something beyond material levels.
So while PB is still in London, there's a bookstore that he goes to frequently to buy spiritual books.
The name of the bookstore is J.M. Watkins.
Watkins still exists today, actually. And in Watkins, he's talking to the owner of the store, and out from the back of the store comes a very dignified-looking Hindu. This is recounted in The Search in Secret India. And the Hindu joins the conversation, and they develop a relationship, and he visits with this man many times in his home. And in one of their conversations, he explains to PB that the spiritual situation in India has degenerated, and there's not many true teachers left. There's many fake or incomplete teachers, but there's a few real masters. And PB says, I should certainly like to encounter some real yogis. So the mysterious Indian, we don't know his name, says, you shall do so one day without a doubt.
And the PB became surprised, correct? Say, how this man could say that? Why he say that?
PB says, how do you know that? He says, I knew it the day we first met. It came to me as an intuition, as a message deeply felt but inexplicable by outward evidences. So PB says, from that time on, I felt strongly that a momentous day would come which will find me in India.
And why he didn't go right away? Do you have any idea?
So PB got trapped. So PB says, time and circumstance are not ready for my journey. Ambition and desire lure a person into responsibilities from which it is not easy to extricate themselves. I can do little more than resign myself to the life which hems me in and watch and wait. So even though PB is well on the quest, he's still tempted and drawn into the worldly life of his career, and he puts aside this hope to go to India.
This was before 1930, what means he wasn't, he was in the 20s, he wasn't 30 yet, because he's going correct the first time to India in 1930, November.
Age 32.
Age 32, yeah.
So he says, I never lost faith in the Indian's prophecy, but pessimism seized me. He thinks, am I not doomed by destiny to remain imprisoned in this maze of private bonds and personal ambitions? Yet my guess at the unseen writ is wrong. In other words, his pessimism isn't justified. So then PB tells us he has this great opportunity. It's like the opportunity of a lifetime, the most important accomplishment in his career. I think he was offered the editorship of an important journal or something. So he says later in a journal article, the years passed. For various reasons, I dropped my mystic studies and concentrated upon professional work in journalism and editing. I made an intense effort to try to understand and fit in with the busy, active material world around me. When, however, my ambitions were on the point of being realized, a strong inner voice suddenly interposed and persistently urged me not to take the culminating step. Had I done so, the next few years would have been contracted away to still more strenuous professional activity. Naturally, there was a struggle, but in response to this strange spiritual monitor, I let slide the most attractive opportunity of my professional career, withdrew from all activities for a time, and took up the old studies once more.
We could think about, correct, how some inner voice could be so powerful at the point he decided to release everything, the more important, opportunity in his life, professional, correct?
Right. And then we could also mention as an aside that Jose Tigredino Neto, who was also PB students, had the same experience that he recounts in the book Our Life in Dreams. He was a film director. He was very successful. He had like the opportunity of a lifetime to make a film with a very famous, well-known director. And during that filming experience, he had a vision that told him he had to leave his career in film, which he did after completing this task. So we could ask ourselves, would we do the same, or would we stay stuck in the world pursuing material opportunities?
Maybe it could be good to read a paragraph of PB that for us to understand how we recognize this inner voice.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he say, it is as if another being spoke inside me, not with an audible voice, but with mental voice, and impose on my own mind. Then, that is so clear then, when we have this experience, the inner voice, that is good if we had passed through this experience, or if you are going to pass through this experience, in both ways, could be good for us to understand how it works.
So he says, these are from perspectives. You may recognize the voice of wisdom when having to make a decision by the fact that it proceeds out of deep inner calm, out of utter tranquility, whereas impulse is frequently born in exaggerated enthusiasm or undue excitement.
Mm-hmm.
If the voice which one hears gives a very strong mental impression and is also very clear, then it is the mystic phenomenon known as the interior word, which is on a truly spiritual plane and is desirable. And from volume 14, Inspiration on the Overself, where there's a section on the interior word, he says, you may count yourself fortunate if you come under the tutelage of the interior word, but this good fortune will last only as long as we faithfully obey it. The failure to do so will bring painful but educative retribution. So in PB's case, and also we learned in Tigredino's case, they made what would look like a foolish professional decision, and they obeyed the inner guidance.
And it's so important, he say here, correct? If you don't obey, it's okay, but you are going to have a painful educative, retribution. In other words, if you obey, you'll be so fortunate. If you don't obey, you'll be good still, but it'll be painful.
I don't know if it'll be good, but
no good.
Lose the opportunity. So, by the way, if we study Christian mysticism, we know that many Christian saints and mystics had this experience of the inner word, including Teresa de Avila and other works. So PB had a friend, an Indian Swami, who was spending time in England, working on one of the early translations of the Upanishads. His name was Swami Purhot. And Swami Purhot said to PB, you are gradually being forced to come to the conclusion which I told you long ago. You are now beginning to see that you cannot compromise between life in the world and the spiritual life. You have to give up one or the other. So you will have to stop worrying about earning money and just give yourself up to a life of faith in the spirit, which will then look after you.
And then he decided really correct, focusing his spiritual life.
Right, leading to his going to India.
Mhm.
And PB later on in his life tells us you don't have to give up life in the world, but you have to put the quest first,
Yeah.
even while you're on the world. Or as Jesus said, you can be in the world, but not of it.